Hello, my name is Reikai, and welcome back. Seen this one pop up today, and man, I got a few things to say about why characters are so unlikable nowadays. Probably has something to do with how everything feels so forced and narcissistic, but let's see what he has to say.
Trajectory of what humans perceive as strength, not only in entertainment media, but even in influencers and perceived role models. This is a steady decline that has been gradually moving towards shaping the very definition of strength. For me, this is actually quite a fascinating topic because of how
Yeah, I guess that's another good point. A lot of what you would consider role models nowadays are really kind of just hitting the gutter. Like, ugh. You got the constant, overly obnoxious, aggressive girl boss characters, and then you have the other extreme on the other side, like Andrew Tate, and it's just like, man, we need some new role models, man. We need some people that can actually speak some sense and not crumble underneath the leftist woke mob all the time and try to pander to a bunch of fucking pussies all the damn time.
blind a lot of people.
Because, by the way, if you are one of those people who pander to that crowd, the second that you even moderately disagree with them on any of their points, you could agree with everything, you could work with them for years and agree with their weird, insane, radical opinions, but the second you falter and decide, okay, maybe this one little thing I don't agree with, they will stab you in the back, light your body on fire, and then somehow try to figure out a way that it victimizes them. It's not worth it. Have some fucking self-respect and have your own opinions. You don't need to pander to a bunch of radical psychos who are just going to systematically destroy you anyways. They're not your friends and they don't really care about you. It's only about having the right opinions, quote unquote. And it's just a way to feed their fucking egos. They don't actually care about half this shit that they push. But anyway, sorry. Tangent.
People are to what is actually happening, almost as though they know the counterfeit better than the genuine. What do I mean by this? There is an interesting phenomenon called perceptual expertise that I'll use as an illustration. Anyone who handles cash on a constant basis, especially in a profession, gain an incredible ability to easily identify counterfeits. Now, something I find insane about this phenomenon is that it isn't actually taught. It is grown through exposure. Bank tellers and cashiers handle genuine banknotes all day. This constant, repeated exposure allows them to develop an intuitive sense of what feels right. The texture, color, weight, print clarity, and even embedded features of real currency. Over time, they build this mental prototype or baseline of what authentic notes look like. So when a counterfeit does come along, it stands out. Not necessarily because the cashier knows exactly what's wrong, but because it doesn't match the baseline they've naturally internalized. Their brain subconsciously flags it as unfamiliar or off. Now, you could probably see where I'm going with this. I believe that a lot...
Yeah, I can kind of see what he's trying to get at. So, when you have a bunch of games like Concord trying to come out that are trying to forcibly exist in the ecosystem, and everybody's telling you have to allow this thing to exist, but everybody can clearly perceive that this thing is strange, abnormal, and why are you trying to force this thing to exist? If it's good, if people like it, it'll exist naturally. So yeah, I guess, good point. People are very good at recognizing patterns, and even monkeys can tell when something is completely unfair and ridiculous.
A lot of modern writers and influencers are more exposed to a counterfeit strength than they are to actual genuine strength. So to them, genuine strength is foreign, and they probably even see it as weakness. Unfortunately, it also seems like this is slowly becoming the norm. Before I dive into what this modern depiction of strength is, let's look at what genuine strength has always looked like. Throughout history, we see that strength has often been defined as the capacity to endure, to act with integrity under pressure, and to choose what is right even when it costs you. It is a moral...
Yeah, it's basically having the self-respect to have your own morals and beliefs, and then to actually exercise those morals and beliefs, and not you don't, and then also not having to constantly announce your morals and beliefs. Like if you have to constantly tell people you're a good person, you're probably a piece of shit. Like I'm just going to be honest. If you have to constantly remind people of your strengths and weaknesses, you shouldn't have to. If you genuinely believe your opinions, people will be able to recognize that based off your actions, not your words. But there's so many people nowadays that have to constantly virtue signal and argue with people and try to constantly push some narrative to pat themselves on the shoulder every day so they can somehow remind themselves like, "Oh, I'm actually a good person." And it's like, "No, you're not. You're not fooling anybody with this shit, man." You see it everywhere now. You go into any comment thread and like you'll have a bunch of people who are stating like what you would most likely perceive as common sense takes, and then you'd have a bunch of people who are trying to play like devil's advocate and virtue signal underneath, and it just looks so obnoxious and stupid. Like if you need to constantly go on social media or go around in public and force people to believe that you're a good person, you're not. You shouldn't have to do that. Anyway.
Moral and emotional resilience. Not the absence of struggle, but the decision to face it. It is also force and power under control. Marcus.
And it's also not blaming everybody else for those struggles. Grow the fuck up, solve the problem, or don't. But I cannot stand people who constantly blame everybody else for their problems.
Aurelius put it this way: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Strength isn't about control over people or circumstances. It's about self-mastery. The ability to stay
Yeah, I agree. Strength is not the ability to control everybody to be on your side.
Steady when everything else is shaking. The power to respond instead of react, to remain grounded when your pride wants to escalate, and in a world that tells you to be loud, aggressive, or performative, Marcus flips it. Real strength isn't about bending.
Oh man, people that are loud and performative are so obnoxious. Society is so exhausted with these people. Holy fuck. You're not doing anybody any favors by being loud, obnoxious, and performative.
The world to your will. It's about mastering yourself in the middle of it. This is a fundamental understanding that everyone has had about strength for a very long time. There are so many clear examples of games, series, and movies over the last 20 to 30 years of genuine strength. But if
and I think 95% of people are very able to pick up on that antidote of actually strength, strong characters. And then you also have the opposite too, where people know when you're trying to push bullshit in their face. Like you have like naturally strong characters like fucking Master Chief and the Dune guy, and Commander Shepard from Mass Effect is a big one for me. He's been I fucking love the Mass Effect series, man. Best series. I even have the stickers on the back of my car. Those are strong characters, and they didn't have to be forced to appear as strong. They just were. Their actions, their personalities, their the things they stood for. It just existed naturally, and you could tell this is a strong character. This is a cool guy.
feels like there is a shift happening. Some of our favorite characters in the past, whether real or fictional, those who have had a very deep understanding of what genuine strength looks like, wouldn't necessarily even exist nowadays. And if they did exist, they would either be gender swapped or race swapped, or even be made to look...
Oh man, like this whole girl boss, we hate men thing is so tiresome now. Nobody cares about this. Like, if you gotta bully people in order to feel empowered, you're not empowered. You're just a fucking asshole.
Pathetic where possible. And the characters that replace them or take their throne are so poorly written that it blows my mind how they even...
Wait, is that real? Did they make a girl Thor? Oh, and this show was kind of funny, but it got obnoxious after a while.
Even exist. Unfortunately, a lot of modern writers simply don't understand genuine strength.
Well, no, because a lot of the people who write these shows now and make these games were social rejects in high school. They never had friends. They don't have friends now. They're basically Funko Pop collecting loser millennials. How are you going to write a compelling story when the most inconvenient thing that has ever happened to you in your life is they got your name wrong at Starbucks? Oh, oh my god, my trauma. It's like no one's going to be able to appeal to someone who obviously is just trying to victimize themselves in order to appear like they've had a tough situation while they write these stories that just bleed privilege, boring, sheltered, right? Like you're not writing a badass character because you yourself are not a badass person. You're a fucking loser. That's just the truth. Like look at who the guy who made J.R. Tolkien or whatever. Um, his story was based off of his experience in World War II or something. World War I. Sorry, I can't. I might be, but basically, he actually went through something that he could fictionalize on paper. You're guys who lived with their parents until they were fucking 35 and got everything handed to them aren't going to be able to write the same level of stories as someone who actually went through something traumatic. Let's be real.
Classical writers like J.R.R. Tolkien knew what genuine strength was.
Like
they knew
said,
that strength has a cost, that it takes something out of you. It doesn't leave you untouched, it leaves scars. It humbles you, it makes you even quieter. And that's the irony. The strongest people are usually the ones that don't even talk about how great or strong they are, because they've...
Yes, fucking thank you. It is so annoying when people who go off and try to pretend like they are cool or strong and they have to constantly remind you of it. It's like, shut the fuck up already. You're just it's like those guys who think they're alphas and they have to constantly remind everybody, oh, I'm an alpha. Ugh, oh, me alpha. It's like, shut up, pussy. Fuck you.
lived it, they've bled for it, and they know it's not a show. This kind of strength isn't taught, it's shaped over time, in moments of choosing silence, restraint, and endurance.
Yeah, obviously, if you go through tough parts in your life, those experiences are going to make you stronger. I'm not saying that everybody has to go through traumatic experiences in order to be good writers, but if you've gone through an obvious, easy way in life, don't sit there and pretend to victimize yourself. It's so obnoxious and it's disingenuous. You could be privileged. It's fine. Just admit it that you had an easy life and you want to write stories that pertain to that. But when you have to pretend that you are this strong-willed warrior that went through absolute horror growing up, and it's like the most traumatic thing that happened to you in high school is you didn't get picked first for the basketball team. It's just, yeah, it just comes off as obnoxious. Really.
It's taught through exposure. It's always incredible and actually somewhat beautiful to see characters and people who suffer or struggle still choose to do good. That's the strength that moves people. That's the strength that transforms people. But this is disappearing. Or worse, it's being replaced by a counterfeit. What is it being replaced by? Narcissism.
Yep. It's being replaced by fake, strong, weird-looking, unlikable characters just like the people who write their stories.
What we're calling strength today is often just narcissism in disguise. It's not rooted in sacrifice or humility. It's
about being an obnoxious asshole and being loud and annoying. Wow, that's so strong and empowering.
Ego, attention, and the desperate need to be admired without being challenged. Modern characters, and let's be honest, many public figures too, aren't strong because they overcome anything. They're strong because the script says so, or because they say so. They don't earn our respect, they demand it. They don't grow,
yeah, you're strong because you're strong. Okay. Cool.
to be right from the start. They're never wrong, never vulnerable, never in doubt. And if they are...
And they are always immune to criticism. They are so perfect that you are not allowed to criticize them, or you are a bigot, racist, grifter, I can't keep track of all these stupid ass words, man. Fuck.
It's used for 5 seconds of forced relatability before they're back to monologuing about how misunderstood
Forced
they are.
relatability,
This isn't
that's a good one.
strength. It's self-worship. You see this constantly. Characters who bulldoze through others emotionally, who never listen, who never...
Yeah, and their favorite thing to do is to ask people questions, and then when they're trying to answer, just yell over top of them and interrupt them. Empowerment, relatability, narcissism. Good God, it's so pathetic.
compromise, and we're told this is empowerment.
Oh, I tried to get into Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I don't want to get into a whole debate on this, but like, I get it. You're non-binary. You don't need to remind us every 5 minutes. Once was good enough. Could you imagine if straight people did that in every conversation you had with them? Oh, by the way, I like pussy. Great, good for you. Nobody cares. Fuck.
But being impossible to work with doesn't make you powerful. It just makes you insufferable. Strength has been reduced to this kind of moral untouchability. A person who can't be...
Yeah. Nobody wants to work with me. That means they're the problem. No, you're just an insufferable, obnoxious piece of shit. That's why nobody wants to work with you.
questioned, corrected, or critiqued because they are the representation of some broader ideal. But this is dangerous because it teaches audiences, especially young ones, that personal growth isn't necessary, that virtue is a given, that the world should revolve around you because...
Yeah, the whole world owes you everything. No, it doesn't. Absolutely not.
You the main character. This obsession with self has hollowed out the archetype of the hero. We used to cheer for really good characters because they gave something up. Now we're just told to cheer because they represent some kind of demographic. The worst part? Most of the audience feels the difference. They don't always know how to articulate.
Well, yeah, it's obvious. Everybody can see the writing on the wall. People have tried to speak about it, and then they get shut down by a bunch of psychos. It's plain as day that this is just really forced. What's an example? It's like when the weird kid had to be... You were forced by teachers to like the weird kid in school because they got sick and tired of their parents calling the school and saying their kid was being bullied. So they put this obnoxious, insufferable, unlikable kid into your friend group and demand you have to like them. That's exactly what this feels like. It is weird. Anybody with any social awareness can tell exactly what's going on, and nobody cares. You didn't want to listen to people, so now you're losing your money because no one wants to deal with this obnoxious crap anymore.
But they know something is off. These new, strong characters feel empty. Their victories don't move us. Their pain doesn't shake us. Because deep down,
Because we know it's not real. It's forced. Most of the... Hang on, I paused it in a weird spot.
No.
Well, all of these things that these people are trying to push can exist naturally if you just allow it. Put it in the movies, put it in the games. Don't remind people every 5 minutes about it. Allow it to exist naturally, and it will. The reason why people are getting sick and tired of this stuff is because it seems like it's the entire point of everything. Your entire identity revolves around these weird identity politics. All you gotta do is put them in the games and shows and allow it to exist naturally with everything else, and then everything will be fine. Like, holy fuck, it's like when people got mad about people talking about Men's Mental Health Day and lost their shit because apparently it paints a shadow over top of Pride Month. It's like, no, both these things can exist naturally. Why is your thing better than the other thing? Who decided this? Nobody. That's who.
Strength without selflessness, sacrifice, or love isn't strength at all. It's narcissism. Now, the problem goes deeper than just poor writing. There's now a dangerous trend that if you don't like certain modern characters or even influencers, it's your fault.
Yeah, and that's another thing that these narcissistic assholes do. You're told you have to like something, and if you don't, it's not made for you. And then if you don't buy it, you're the problem. What the fuck? You can't force social things. It doesn't work that way.
You are the issue. You are sexist, you are racist, you are homophobic, or you are even transphobic. And this shuts down any honest conversation before it even begins.
Well, they don't want to have honest conversations. They just want their conversation. They don't want other people to talk. They just want to be listened to. That's it. Because they're narcissistic, obnoxious assholes. Like, we've already deduced this at the beginning. Like, people who have chronic narcissism don't give a fuck what anybody else but themselves thinks. And if you try to talk to them, they'll just talk over you. And if you try to make a good point, they'll just find a way to insult you. It's so obnoxious. I have dated people like this. I have people like this in my family. I know exactly how this goes, and it's super obnoxious, and people don't want to deal with it. And in most cases, the only way to actually deal with people like this is to just walk away.
This is a huge part of why things aren't actually getting better, because now identity is being used as a shield. Writers don't have to build strong characters, they just have to build important ones.
Yeah, and this is another thing that really pisses me off when people virtue signal. It's like, wow, you're such an incredibly good, kind-hearted person. You're using a group of people's movement that are trying to get, rights and freedoms that the rest of us do, and you're essentially using them as a fucking shield so you can be an obnoxious prick. Yeah, go pat yourself on the back to that.
Characters who can't be criticized because of what they represent, not who they actually are. It's lazy, and more than that.
Yeah, you know who else tried to do that? The Nazis. The actual Nazis. They were obviously in the right and everybody else was in the wrong, and that's why they're no longer here, right?
It's disrespectful, both to the audience and to the very groups these characters are supposed to speak for. Because real representation means giving those characters the same depth, struggle, and growth as anyone else, not making them untouchable, narcissistic brats that demand to be liked. You can't.
Exactly. People are getting real tired of this God complex of I'm immune to criticism because of my beliefs. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Every belief system, every ideology, every person can be flawed. Nobody or anything is immune to criticism ever. The second that you think you are beyond everybody else is when you are actually the opposite.
Can't just hand a character a specific shielded identity and a crazy ego and call it strength. That's not how storytelling works. That's not how respect works. And that's not how truth works. One of the more recent examples for this is in the trailer for Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. In a short 4.5-minute trailer, Naughty Dog somehow managed to create an insanely unlikable character who instantly comes across as extremely arrogant and narcissistic. And yet, they genuinely believe this character is above any criticism simply because of her race and identity. As soon as anyone calls her out as a poorly written character, the blame is flipped onto the viewer, labeling the viewer as racist or homophobic. But it has.
I mean, if you want to write an obnoxious, lazy, rude character like that, that's fine. But why are you getting mad at people when they point out that that's exactly what they are? What do you mean? It's so weird. It's like these people bring the circus and then get mad at people when they point out the clowns. What the fuck?
Nothing to do with the race or identity of the protagonist. She simply comes across as.
And you know what it is? I feel like these companies do this intentionally in order to get reactions out of people because, again, they're narcissists. They love getting people riled up. So they make these games with the intention of pissing off the public so they can sit there and pretend like they are superior and can virtue signal and call everybody a bunch of stupid ass names because, oh my god, they are holier than thou attitude makes them superior to all the chuds that they are trying to sell products to. It's like, holy shit, what a bunch of mentally ill psychos.
as unlikable. Now, here's where things also get a little bit complicated. I genuinely believe that characters like this are only unlikable to those who have been exposed to genuine strength in their lives. And I can actually see how this sort of character could be likable to those who have not been exposed to genuine strength in their lives. I personally believe that fatherless homes or abusive experiences from individuals that are supposed to represent strength in our lives can create an exposure of counterfeit strength. Obviously, life is nuanced, and I personally know quite a few people who have been exposed throughout their lives to this counterfeit strength that do have a healthy view of strength now. But when you grow up without a model of earned, quiet, or steady strength, you can easily mistake loudness for confidence, control for leadership, and arrogance for self-assurance. And so a character who steamrolls over others, never listens, never bends, and acts like the world owes them something might actually look strong to someone who's only ever seen power used that way. Making characters like this completely alienates audiences, not because we're hateful or closed-minded, but because we're being told to cheer for characters that are poorly written but guilt-wrapped in a protected identity. And if we
100%. It's forced respect. You have to respect me because I fucking told you to. No, and all what you're gonna do is you're not gonna get respect. You're gonna get apathy instead, which is the complete worst thing you want. Because as soon as someone is apathetic to you, they don't even care. They won't get mad or happy for anything you do because you are now just an NPC and whatever you do doesn't exist.
If we don't celebrate these characters, we get labeled and called out. But that's not strength. That's trauma with a label on it. And that's the danger. When culture starts celebrating unhealed wounds as empowerment, when fiction becomes a mirror of brokenness rather than a picture of what wholeness.
Yeah, people who run around wearing their past traumas as like some badge of honor instead of sorting through it or getting therapy if necessary, they run around and they bounce around in society like a bunch of schizos, and we're all supposed to tiptoe around them. No, fuck that.
Could look like. We stop aiming upwards and we start settling. We start calling dysfunction power, not because it is, but because it's all some people have ever known. You can see this play out in real life.
It might feel like power when you achieve it by these means, because what you have done is you have alienated everybody that could potentially respect you to not want to deal with you. And it might seem like power because now no one's criticizing you, but it's not because they respect you, it's because they don't give a fuck about you. You've pissed them off, they don't want to deal with you because you're obnoxious and narcissistic. So it's better to just let you flail around like a psycho freak and just let you crash yourself out. Damn, what strength.
Someone you believe to have narcissistic qualities, whether a public figure or someone in your personal life. They
Like, look at this shit, man. It's so obnoxious.
to have narcissistic.
Like, come on, bro. What a fucking asshole. The facial expressions, the obvious disingenuous attitudes, and like just the over-the-top expressions that these fucking freaks make, bro. Yeah, wow, great.
Narcissistic qualities, whether a public figure or someone in your personal life. They could be popular, charismatic, and quick-witted, sure. But what you're really witnessing more often than not is just ego dressed.
If Rogan's quick-witted, oh boy.
As strength. They rarely or never admit when they're wrong. They often talk over others and position themselves as the...
Well, you can't be wrong if you're immune to criticism because you're perfect, right? So if you were to admit that you're wrong, that would mean that you're no longer perfect. You see how this narcissistic attitude kind of plays into everything? Yeah.
The smartest in the room without actually doing the harder work of listening, learning, or sacrificing. That's not strength. That's a performance of a false perception of strength. And for a lot of young people, especially those without real mentors, that kind of performance can be convincing. Because if you've never or rarely seen genuine strength in your life, the kind that leads by example, that serves others, that admits failure, that shows genuine humility, then the counterfeit could look strong. C.S. Lewis once said, "We make men without chests and expect them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst." In other words, We strip away the soul of real strength, the virtue, the responsibility, the self-mastery. We laugh.
Yeah. You allow a bunch of narcissists like this to take over, and then they start to bastardize what real virtue is. And then this becomes your norm. You create a bunch of weak, pathetic losers who only care about themselves. And what this is going to do is it's going to slowly degrade society over time and destroy it. What's the saying? Weak men make strong men, and then strong men make... I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about. And eventually it leads to weak men creating a weak society, yada, yada, yada. This is what's happening right now. You have a bunch of people who are essentially fake virtues, and all they're doing is destroying society with their bullshit, while simultaneously patting themselves on the back by thinking that they're the good people. It's pretty messed up.
And mock the real thing when it is displayed, and then we're surprised when the people we elevate as heroes don't act like heroes at all. When we confuse narcissism for strength, we don't just warp our stories, we warp our expectations of ourselves and each other. People start performing instead of growing. They protect their image instead of building character. They become addicted to being right instead of learning how to be wise. And the worst part, they start to believe that vulnerability is weakness, that empathy is a flaw, that asking for help is a failure. Real strength doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a platform. It grows in silence through trial.
Yeah, exactly. If you have to talk over top of other people to get your point across without respecting what other people are trying to say, obviously what you have to say has no fucking value. Otherwise you wouldn't have to scream it over top of everybody.
It's something you become, not something you declare. So the question becomes, what kind of strength are we trying to build in ourselves? And what kind of strength are we...
What kind of strength am I trying to build in myself? Pretty much, I just want to go back to what real strength looks like, where people were able to be cemented in their beliefs and their morals without having to pander to the mob of psychos and try to at least just speak some truth in a society where everything is lies and narcissism. That's what I want to try to do, at least. I'm just a fucking nobody, but hey, I'm gonna at least do my best to talk sense, to speak where others aren't speaking.
Celebrating in others. Because if we don't know the difference, we'll keep clapping for the counterfeits while the real thing quietly slips away.
Yeah, and if we keep clapping for the counterfeits while the genuine people hide in the shadows, all we're gonna have is a bunch of counterfeits and no more genuine people. At least we have like Tectone, Asmongold, and a couple. There's a bunch of other guys who are trying to at least bring this back to some fucking sense. But man, there's a lot more of people that are not.
So let's come back to the real thing. Real strength is not perfection. It's not dominance. It's not being the loudest person in the room.
And you know what I think it is? It's because a lot of this bad actor behavior gets a lot of clicks, and it's incentivized by money. Right now, society is very profitable if you're a piece of shit. It's pretty sad.
Room, or the most unshakable or unteachable in the spotlight. It's the man who stands alone for what is right, even when it costs him everything. It's the woman who forgives what the world says is unforgivable. It's even the leader who kneels before they command. It's not found in applause, it's found in sacrifice. Look at historical figures such as Nelson Mandela, who grew up under the apartheid, imprisoned for 27 years, and instead of coming out bitter and vengeful, he led a nation towards healing and reconciliation. That's strength. Look at Corrie ten Boom, a woman who lost everything in the Holocaust, including her sister, and yet she chose to forgive the man who was responsible. That is strength. Look at Martin Luther King Jr., who faced death threats, violence, and prison, yet he met hatred with peace and injustice with love. That's strength. And finally, look at Jesus. Whether you believe in him or not, there is no figure in history who better embodies strength through sacrifice. He had power, authority, a following, and yet chose the path of suffering. He didn't destroy his enemies, he forgave them. He didn't demand loyalty.
Yeah, and in most cases, you don't have to destroy your competition like the insane radical leftist mob usually does whenever someone disagrees with them. All you gotta do is call out bad behavior, stick to your morals, and don't crumble like a little pussy. And you'll be surprised just how much more respect you get from doing that than what they do.
He washed
Are you gonna be a Martin Luther King or are you gonna be a Hassan Piker?
feet. He didn't save himself, he gave himself. And in doing so, redefined strength not as dominance, but as self-giving love. Real strength isn't about appearing invincible. It's about remaining faithful, honest, and loving even when you feel broken.
Yeah. If your ideology and your morals have to be forced through violence and other antisocial violent means, it probably goes to show that your ideology is fucking trash. Just saying.
Especially when you feel broken. These people didn't become strong by demanding
Man,
the world
that scene
revolve around
fucking broke
them.
me the
They
first
became
time I
strong
seen
by
that movie.
laying something down. Their comfort, their ego, their vengeance, and their lives for the sake of something or someone greater. So maybe it's time we relearn what strength actually is. It's not the power to dominate. It's the courage to endure, the humility to grow, the grace to forgive, the wisdom to wait, and the character to keep going, especially when no one is watching. Thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you so much to my Patreons for supporting me. I'm back on the ball with YouTube again, and I'm going to be producing a lot more videos a lot quicker going forward. This is just my perspective. It is a angle. It's not the whole picture of why I believe it is a thing, but I genuinely think that there is a bit of a decline in the idea of strength at the moment.
Bit of decline. Oh no, it's being decimated right now. This guy is a fucking genius. Alright, you've earned another subscriber from me. Yeah, 100%. Like, everybody can see it, but the problem is no one's allowed to speak up against it, or you'll be attacked by a bunch of radical psychos. So, essentially what's happening is you have a bunch of fake, self-righteous, self-designated heroes that are all over social media now, who are just causing absolute chaos. And they think that they're heroes, but the second that you moderately disagree with them, they send their army of radical psychos after you to attack your family, to send death threats to you and your friends and family, to get you fucking deplatformed, to have your job destroyed. It's like, holy shit. You are not the heroes, you are the fucking villains. You are pieces of shit who use domination and destructive tactics in order to force an ideology nobody fucking cares about. Should be absolutely fucking ashamed of yourselves. I'm just going to keep talking about shit like this, and I hope other guys keep doing it too. Just like this gentleman here, Pata. Thank you to the very few people that are actually trying to stand up for this stuff. Bring this shit back. Stop letting these fucking bullies dictate social norms, and let's get our strength of character back. Holy. Anyway, see ya.